Hello friends. Today we are going to discuss about National Mental Health Policy. I am Dr. Suresh Badadmat, Professor of Psychiatry, working at NIMANS, Bangalore. Before I start my presentation, I would like to place this disclaimer. This presentation is for academic and training purpose only. This presentation is not a substitute for professional legal opinion or a clinical opinion. For professional opinion, please do contact respective professionals. Conflict of interest? None. Further, opinion expressed in this presentation are my own personal opinions based on my research, based on my experience working in clinical psychiatry and public psychiatry. The views expressed by me in this presentation should not be considered as the views of the institute which I represent or affiliates with. That means the presentations is my own personal opinion. In this video, I am going to discuss about what is mental health policy, the evolution of Indian mental health policy, and Mental Health Policy of India 2014. I will review about this policy and also evaluation of the mental health policy. The target audience are doctors, psychiatrists, mental health professionals such as psychologists, social workers, and nurses, and also policymakers, policy influencers, think tank members, health administration, NGOs, civil societies, persons with mental illness and their family members, and general population at large. Let's understand about mental health policy. Mental health policy is an official statement by the government or an health authority that provides overall direction for mental health by defining vision, values and principles, objectives, and strategic direction and recommendation of action. So, it's a statement of intent, that is, vision, and also the values and principles to be followed when you are implementing this vision, and also the objectives and also strategic directions is called as policy. But however, there is something other document also called as plan. Plan is a detailed, pre-formulated scheme for implementing strategic action that favor the promotion of mental health, prevention of mental disorder, treatment, and rehabilitation. This allows the implementation of the vision, values, principles, objectives defined in the policy. So, policy is a vision and plan how to go about taking this vision. That is the plan. The third one is program, also sometimes called as instruments, or else sometimes it is called as projects. The program means an intervention or series of intervention with a highly focused objective for the promotion of mental health, prevention of mental disorder, treatment, and rehabilitation. Program usually focuses on a specific mental health priority. So, we have discussed about policy, we have defined about the plan, the program. It is an intervention or series of intervention. There is a policy as a vision, and then comes as a plan how to go about with this vision to a form plan, and the plan is implemented in the program. And now, with all these three, they need something called as legislation. Here we have Mental Health Care Act of 2017 in India. Here it says do's and don'ts when you are reaching this goal. Actually, policy is a soft law. Soft law is not obligated to implement, whereas legislation is mandatory. It is enforceable in the court of law, whereas policy is not. So sometimes some countries comes up with enabling legislation to implement the policy. Best example I can give you is sexual harassment. Zero sexual harassment will be the vision. How to implement it? One is, of course, the policy is there, but there should be a plan and also a program. And if people continue to do that, then there should be a legislation to decrease the prevalence. So here, in the similar fashion, we have mental health legislation. So, vision, plan, program, and a legislation. So if you look at this, all four important instruments which I have discussed, policy is a statement of intent, a plan is detailed proposal for doing or achieving that vision, or the intent. Program is the means as a set of activities or intervention done to translate the intent into action. Again, I'll repeat. Policy is an intent or a vision. Plan is a proposal. Program is an action. How to convert this policy into an action? A law is a set of rules or regulation, the action of its members' do's and don'ts, which may be enforced in the court of law. Maybe even penalties can be given. So if you all have four important things, and this policy, whichever you have, can be implemented, but all four needs to go in hand: policy, plan, program, and legislation. I'll put this in a very concrete example. Suppose you have a policy that you want to build a home or a house for yourself. So that is a policy. You have decided in 2021 or 22, you are going to build a house. That is the policy. You have a vision. Now you need to have a plan. The plan looks like this. So you have an intent. Now you have a plan. The third one is a program. Program is how on day-to-day basis your vision is converted into actionable plan. That is the action. From intent to action is project. And now when you are doing this project, you need to follow certain legislation. Maybe approval of site, registration of site, taking permission for building the house, water permission, electricity permission. So all series of permission, and that means you need to build the house in the framework of the legal which is prevailing at that time. So this is how I can give you an example with regard to policy, plan, program, and legislation. Now let's move further. If you look at the four columns, policy, plans, program, and legislation. If you look at the focus, policy is a vision. That vision needs to be implemented through certain set of values and principles with broad objectives. And priority setting, and also the scope is general, the duration is 5 to 10 years, and geographical area is across the country. If you come to the plan, a plan is a proposal, a kind of strategies, time frame, financing, human resources, target, activities. It is basically a proposal of action. It is general, duration may be medium 3 to 8 years, and it may be geographically maybe country to a smaller division. Coming to the program. Program is actionable plan. That is, you are going to now do the intent into an action. It is specific. It is intervention or series of intervention. Here the resources is required. Budget has to be immediately released so that the program is ongoing. Specific focus need to be there, and also scope of intent should be specific. The implementation, evaluation, indicators need to be clearly defined in the program. It is usually short duration, 1 to 5 years. It may be a country, it may be a state or a small place or a district place. Coming to the legislation. Legislation is under the framework, legal framework, the policy has to be implemented. It may be not violating the human rights, do's and don'ts, accountability. If certain things are not done, punishment, and it has to be mandatorily implemented. If it is not done, it is enforceable in the court of law. The scope of content is very specific. It is usually duration long term, and it is geographic area, maybe country or across the state. Now you are able to appreciate the difference between plan, policy, program, and legislation. Now further, to make you understand, you can see the vision. Vision has to be implemented through values and principles. But you keep those values, there should be an objectives. The objectives will be financing, coordination, legislation and human rights, organization of services, promotion, prevention and treatment and rehab, essential medicines and distribution, advocacy, quality improvement, information system, HR, research and evaluation, and intersectorial collaboration. So these will be formed as a policy. So this will be part of the policy document. All these ingredients will be considered as a health policy or a mental health policy. Along with this policy, we need to have a plan. Plan includes strategies. That is a proposal, how the strategies will be done, what are the targets, what are the indicators. So this will become the plan. And finally, you need to have a program. That is, actionable work. Here, the action takes place. That means implementation takes place. For all this, you need to have enabling legislation so that the policy is translated into action through the program. So the whole thing will be considered as mental health policy to the implementation. So the end users get the benefit of the policy. Let's look into the evolution of policy, plan, and program in India. In 1978, World Health Organization came up with an important theme: health for all for health through primary health care by 2000. Taking the hint from the WHO, India also planned a landmark change in health. The first national health policy was planned. Central Council of Health in 1982 sat, which comprised of all health ministers and directors of health of all state to formulate national health policy. And in 1983, the first national health policy was released. And the goal was very clear: access to primary care for everyone in India by 2000. In the same meeting, National Mental Health Program was also approved in August 1982. And if you look at the goal of National Mental Health Program, it clearly said integration of mental health care with general primary health care. That means the general population need not go to mental hospital to seek care. They can approach primary health care for treatment of mental illness. That was a noble idea which was planned in 1982. And India is the first country which started National Mental Health Program with keeping a clear agenda of providing mental health care through primary health care. And this was the first non-communicable disorder program initiated in India, that too in 1982. Let's look into the timeline of policy, programs, and plan and legislation in India. If you look at the x-axis, that is the timeline, and you can see the y-axis. The first and the foremost National Mental Health Program came into picture in 1983, which got approval in 1982. And the actionable plan, or what we call it as the program, District Mental Health Program, started in 1997 at the larger scale. Initially, we had program. The policy came only in 2014. That was National Mental Health Policy. And if you look at the legislation, the first legislation of independent India was Mental Health Act of 1987. So Mental Health Act of 1987 was not completely in sync with National Mental Health Program. There was a program, no policy. The legislation was not in line with National Mental Health Program. However, once in 2014, the National Mental Health Policy came. Immediately, the Mental Health Care Act of 2017 also came, and it had a complete in sync with policy and the program. So, my dear friends, we had program first, later came the policy, and finally the Mental Health Care Act of 2017. Let's discuss about National Mental Health Policy of India 2014, which was titled as New Pathways, New Hope. National Mental Health Policy of India, released on October 2014 by Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Government of India. Let's discuss about this policy. This policy has been divided into 5 different parts as per World Health Organization. Vision, 9 values and principles, 3 goals and 10 objectives, 9 cross-cutting issues, and 7 strategic directions and recommendations of action. Let's discuss each one of them. The first one is vision. That is, what is the intent of this mental health policy? If you look at the intent is very clear: to promote mental health, prevent mental illness, enable recovery from mental illness, promote destigmatization and desegregation, ensure socioeconomic inclusion of persons affected by mental illness by providing accessible, affordable, and quality health and social care to all persons through their lifespan within a right-based framework. If you look at the intent is very comprehensive, very noble, and it's very large. It is from womb to tomb. That means every person, every citizen of our country needs to have mental health care. That is promotion, prevention, treatment, and also various other important things under the rights based framework. That is the vision. Now, what are the values and principles based upon this policy will be taken, drafted, and implemented? There are 9 different policies. Basically, the values and principles: equity, justice, integrated care. You will not provide mental health care separately, it should be part of physical health care. Evidence based care, quality, participatory and rights based approach, governance and effective delivery, value based in all training and training programs, holistic approach to mental health. So, these are the 9 values and principles based upon which the policy will be implemented. Moving to the 3 goals and 10 objectives. Let's discuss that. The 3 goals are to reduce distress, disability, exclusion, morbidity, and premature mortality associated with mental health problems across lifespan of the person, to enhance the understanding of mental health in the country, to strengthen the leadership in the mental health sector at national, state, and district levels. So these are the 3 goals which has been clearly defined. Moving to the 10 objectives. The 10 objectives are to provide universal access to mental health care. So you have talked about mental health care. Now, what type of mental health care? To increase the access to and utilization of comprehensive mental health services by persons with mental health problems. Now, you need to understand the objectives moved from mental illness to mental health problems. So, it is no more just for mentally ill people, the people for mental health problems. If you look at the policy definition, mental health problems means it starts from psychosocial issues to diagnosable mental illness. That means it is everything under the sun. That is umbrella. Though any person or any citizen in India who has psychosocial issues, stressors, should get mental health care. It's a very large objective. Further, the third objective is to increase access to mental health care, especially to vulnerable groups, including homeless persons in remote areas, educational, socially, economically deprived section. So it talks about vulnerable population. It also clearly identifies vulnerable population have high risk for mental illness, and mental illness will put persons under vulnerable category. Further, the fourth objective is to reduce the prevalence and impact of risk factor associated with mental health problems. Again, it is not mental illness, it is mental health problems. That means any person who has stress, who has psychosocial issues, and mental illness. All 3 categories have been taken care. Coming to the fifth, to reduce the risk and incidence of suicide and attempted suicide, to ensure respect for rights and protection from harm of persons with mental health problems. Again, it is not mental illness, it is mental health problems. Moving to the seventh, to reduce stigma associated with mental health problems, to enhance availability and equitable distribution of skilled human resources for mental health. Coming to the ninth, to progressively enhance financial allocation and improve utilization for mental health promotion and care, to identify and address the social, biological, psychological determinants of mental health problems, and to provide appropriate intervention. So if you look at the objectives, objective is not about mental illness or psychiatric problem. It talks about mental health problems, that is from stressor to psychosocial issue to mental illness. So if you look at, it is not only for mentally ill people, it is for the whole general population, that is 138 crore people need to get access to mental health care so that their mental health problems can be solved and mental health issues can be brought down and their mental health can be improved further. Now let's move into the fourth important category, cross-cutting issues. This is very essential because mental health is not just one dimension. It has multiple dimensions involving multiple people, multiple ministries, departments, Government, NGO, private, civil societies, every individual has a role to play in mental health improvement. Now let's understand these 9 cross-cutting issues. First one is stigma. If there is a stigma, nobody will seek for help. Just because there is a stigma, nobody wants to take treatment and discrimination is written. And it has to be rights-based approach. That means it should be within the legal framework of rights-based. Vulnerable populations need to be provided care first. Adequate funding, supporting the families. If you look at in India, majority of the people with mental illness are taken care by families, not by the government, not by the NGOs. It is the family which provides care for persons with mental illness. Intersectoral collaboration. If you look at mental health, it is not just the health department or health ministry. It cuts across almost all departments and ministries. I will come to that within short time. Institutional care and also promotion of mental health and research. So these are the 9 cross-cutting issues which need to be kept in mind and planned through when the mental health policy is implemented. Now coming to the 5th part, strategic directions and recommendations of actions as per the mental health policy. So these are the 7 important strategic directions and recommendations. Effective governance and accountability. Every plan, if it is to be implemented, there should be a good governance and accountability. Without that, the plan or the policy will be on paper only. Or else, it is just an intent or a promise, never be fulfilled. Promotion of mental health, prevention of mental illness and reduction of suicide and attempted suicide, universal access for mental health services, improve the availability of adequate trained mental health human resources to address the mental health needs of the community participation, and research. If you look at all these 7 important strategic directions and recommendations, and each of these 7 has different recommendations. Altogether, there are 71 strategic directions and recommendations for action. And each of these recommendations requires all departments and ministries, federal government, both central government and state government need to work together even at the block level and panchayat level. That means policy is not just a government business, not just the health department, not just the government department. It is NGOs, private partner, corporates. Every person has a role to play in implementation of mental health policy. Now let's review this policy. How this policy does well compared to various other countries. So I'm going to present about the Indian mental health policy. Here the intent is very clear. It is a sign of a public articulation of the government to intend to invest in a neglected area called as mental health problem. It cuts across all ministries and sectors. It does not intend only for mentally ill people. It is mental health problem. Means people who are under stress, who have psychosocial issues, and also mental illness. Mental illness just a 10% of that. Whereas psychosocial and stressors form the 90%. That means mental health policy is applicable to the general population of India. That is 138 crore. What is the intent of the government? The intent of the government cuts across all ministries. Not only health, education ministry, that means we need to address mental health problems in the schools and colleges, labor and employment, where the people work. That means one third of the time we spend in the workplace. Housing and urban affairs, because migration into urban area can cause various stressors. Food and public distribution, social welfare, children and women department, disability, home and defense, law and justice, agriculture, tribal, commerce and industry, heavy industries, small scale industry, coal and mines, minority affairs, rural development, panchayat raj, electronic and communication. Now, environment and climate is also playing a role in our mental health issues. That means every ministry need to work in the implementation of mental health policy. It's not just one department, or else just not a central government or state government. Every person has a role to play. Further, all corporates need to have mental health policy to protect their employees from mental health problems. Not only government, private, corporates, NGOs. Civil societies also have an essential role to play in implementation of mental health policy. Individual families and citizens also have a role to play. And this is the first mental health policy of independent India. It does not talk about illness, it talks about stressors, psychosocial issues, and also mental illness. That means it covers the whole population. Recognizes mental health problems are high in vulnerable population and social disadvantaged people. It is a rights based approach. That means it is enforceable in the court of law under Mental Health Care Act of 2017. Funding for mental health care is also emphasized under this policy. Alternative funding, private sector, corporate social corporate social responsibilities, and other funding also has been encouraged. Promotion, prevention, treatment, and recovery from mental health problem has been given importance, not only for mental illness. Institutional care, community care, family care, assisted care, and independent living also has been mentioned in the policy. Support for family members and caregiver has been emphasized. And it is a holistic mental health care has been taken, not just allopathic care. Ayurveda, Unani, Siddha, and individual mental health care has to be given importance. That means it is a holistic mental health care. Human resources development has been mentioned, research, and also it focuses on strengthening the leadership in mental health sector at all levels. But these are the positive points. What are the drawback of this mental health policy? It's very aspiration. It is aspirational in nature and difficult to implement. Goals and objectives are very vast. There is no specific time frame and the plan is not been there. Too many strategies and recommendations. And they are very, very woolly in nature. That means we do not have specific indicators. Just mental illness is very difficult to quantify. Now you have to quantify mental health problems. You need to quantify stress. You need to quantify psychosocial issues, which are very difficult and very difficult to measure. And the measurement takes time. Further, mental illness versus mental health problems and again now one more dimension, mental health promotion. Psychosocial issues have not been defined, stress not been defined. How do you quantify that? How do you do once the mental health policy is implemented, how the stress have improved, how the psychosocial has improved before the policy and after the policy? Will be very difficult. Almost all ministries, stakeholders are involved in the implementation of mental health policy. When the policy was drafted, whether all these ministries were involved, difficult to say. Most probably the discussion would have occurred involving all stakeholders. But however, various other ministries have an important role to play in the implementation of mental health policy. And user is general population, 138 crore, not just psychiatric disorder or persons with mental illness are not the beneficiary. The whole population is the beneficiary. But the important drawback is written here. It is the universal intervention of psychosocial problems and health promotions leads to dispersion of responsibility. This may lead to fragmented policies, poorly defined roles and responsibilities, weak follow-up and monitoring mechanisms, lack of accountability for results, or a stalemate in decision making. So, we have a huge mental health policy and huge intervention program, not only for mental illness, psychosocial issues, stressor, and mental health promotion. Many actors, many stakeholders, many departments, many ministries, central government, state government, how to fix responsibilities, how to do governance will be a big challenge. Further, any policy without proper plan, time frame, indicators, target, implementation is just an empty promise. That means policy need to have all the ingredients to implement. Now let's evaluate the mental health policy of India. And this evaluation is my personal opinion. and it is not the institute which I am affiliated to. Let's understand, evaluation of any health policy needs to be considered comprehensively. Policy means plan, program, and legislation. All these need to be taken into consideration. As soon as the policy came in 2014, the program, that is National Mental Health Program, got revitalized. Further, Mental Health Care Act of 2017 was passed immediately and it was enforced in 29th May 2018. That means we have a policy and the National Mental Health Program got revitalized and we have a legislation. But the issue is plan. Now, let's evaluate this policy. So, to evaluate this policy, we need to take all four things into consideration: policy, plan, program, and legislation. To evaluate any policy, there are three different approaches taken: top to bottom approach, bottom to top approach, and mixed methods involving quantitative, qualitative, fixed group discussion, case studies, indirect data, direct data, quality of life improvement, improvement in disability, reduction in suicide, what is the global, basically GDP improvement, stress levels, happiness index, and so forth, involving all ministries and all stakeholders. So, it's a very comprehensive plan, comprehensive evaluation, baseline assessment should be there. Once the plan is implemented, then you need to assess again. Did we do all this before the policy was done? Of course, it was the evaluation of program was done. And there was no assessment of psychosocial problems was done. No assessment of mental health problem was done. Only mental illness was assessed. That too under district mental health program across the country. That means we do not have baseline. So we need to take only top to bottom approach or bottom to top approach. Mixed method will give only patchy information. Now, to know all these things, we need to answer certain questions. Let me put across how to evaluate the policy. So, how effectiveness and the goal achievement has done under the mental health policy. What effect did the policy have on the targeted problem? Unfortunately, the targeted problem was mental health problem, which was very huge. COVID had ruined our mental health problem. That means it has worsened to very severely. What are the unintended effects of this policy? That is the second part. Baseline. Do we have baseline assessment before designing the policy? That is, mental health problems of our country. What is the prevalence of mental health problem? How severely it is there? How it is spread across the country? How much it is causing impact on the policy or maybe finance, maybe health issues? How much it is creating trouble in everybody's life? Do we have that baseline? Coherence, convergence, and synergy. How does this policy intersect with other related policies? We have mental health policy. How does it play a role in other health policies? Maybe other policies of agriculture, policies of fertilizers, policies of finance. How does it play a role? Who are the co-beneficent? Co-benefits. Did the policy design provide for co-benefits? Equity, winners and loser. What are the effect of this policy on different population groups? Did we have early before the policy? Did we define it? After the policy, how we are going to assess that? Enabling and constraining factors. What external factors are likely to influence the intended policy effect? Did we do this homework? Cost effectiveness. What were the financial and economic cost and benefits of this policy? Not only I am talking about mental illness. The policy talks about mental health problems, psychosocial issues, stress. What was the time frame to implement this policy? Was it given? Feasibility and implementability of this policy. Is this policy technically feasible in the institutional context or across the country? Acceptability. Do the relevance policy stakeholders view the policy as generally acceptable or not? Stakeholders' involvement. Of course, the policy was discussed widely. Did it was circulated across all the ministries, all corporate sectors, all industries, heavy industry, small scale industry? To what extents were affected stakeholders actively involved in the implementation? And finally, any other factors such as transformative potential, intergenerational effects, transboundary impact, sociocultural concerns, political interference, enforcement issues, compliance with legal standard. All these needs to be evaluated. Can we do all these 13 points evaluation? If we don't have baseline, how will we evaluate? Can we do RCTs? That is randomized control trial. Some states will implement the mental health policy and some state will not do. Can we do that? Because this is a national mental health policy. How will we assess this? So, considering that the mixed method will be very difficult, the only way is to go through top to bottom approach and bottom to top approach. So, these are the two strategies I'm going to discuss. So, now the evaluation of policy can be done only through the health department at this point of time, because we do not have baseline for mental health problem. We have baseline for mental illness, that is National Mental Health Survey, which looked into mental illness only. It did not look into psychosocial problem. It did not define psychosocial problem. It did not look into the prevalence. It did not look at what is the financial implication of the psychosocial problems. So we have only mental illness, that is National Mental Health Survey done in 2014 and 15 by NIMHANS. Since there is no comprehensive assessment of psychosocial problem across India is done, we need to focus only on mental illness. So, National Mental Health Survey done in 2015 and 16 did the assessment of mental disorder, treatment gap, and mental health services for mental illness. That too, National Mental Health Program. It does not talk about mental health problems or psychosocial issues. I'm emphasizing again. So, my evaluation of this whole presentation will be limited to mental disorders, prevalence, burden, and the service provision only through health department or health ministry, not through other ministries, because I do not have data and we do not have the policies from each of these ministries at this point of time. I don't have access to them. So I'll be focusing the evaluation of the policy from mental illness perspective, not as the perspective from mental health problem. So this is the limitation of this video. Moving further, I'll be discussing top to bottom approach. That is National Mental Health Program through DMHP. Bottom to top approach will be considered as Ayushman Bharat, that is health and wellness centers. So these are the two important planning has been done by Government of India. That too from the health department, that is Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. If you look at the pyramid of care by WHO, you can see this beautiful pyramid which talks about self-care and also informal care and formal care. And also it talks about various costs. Let's go into each one of them. If you look at the pyramid of care, the bottom of the pyramid, that is maximum, is self-care. Then comes the informal community care, pharmacy-based services, primary care services, district hospital, and the institutional care. Self-care starts from bottom of the pyramid to the top of the pyramid. Now let's look into the cost. If you look at the cost, the self-care the cost is very low. The institutional care is very costly. That means, as you know, when the COVID started, everybody was quarantined in the institutional care. There were no beds available. It was a very costly affair. Over a period of 6 months, we came to know that care can be given in the community, that too at home. Up to 85 to 90% can be provided care at home. Only 10% required hospitalization. So the cost came drastically down, though it was a pandemic. Moving to the care, the quality of autonomy and care is required. If you look at the autonomy is very low in the institutional care. Autonomy is very high in self-care. That means we need to provide care at the individual level, at the community level, and every person has a responsibility to take care of his mental health. Further, quantity of services needed is more in the bottom of the pyramid. That means self-care and informal care requires maximum. The rest is very minimal. That means everybody has a role to play. Every individual citizen has a role to play in mental health policy. Now let's move into the National Mental Health Program. Here, that is the pyramid of care, institutional care, that is mental hospital, tertiary care, medical colleges, and district hospitals. Further, if you look at the bottom, self care, health and wellness center under Ayushman Bharat, and primary health care. When WHO 2003 describes this, if you look at our Indian scenario, the National Mental Health Program came in 1983, and we were able to reach District Mental Health Program in 2020 to almost all districts. Financial approval has been given to all districts, and money has been sanctioned. Now it is the responsibility of the state to implement District Mental Health Program. So we are able to reach up to the district hospital, but we have not reached taluk and PHCs. Our care has stopped at the district level. That is from the National Mental Health Program. The vertical program stops at District Mental Health Program. Although it talks about training of PHC doctors, unfortunately, it is very difficult in psychiatry. Now coming to the vertical approach I mentioned, but the challenges are of this vertical program. Districts are huge. If you look at each districts, it caters from 1 lakh to 10 lakh, and some of the huge districts may be up to 50 lakhs. So having one district mental health team will not be able to provide care because the mental illness is 10%. Even if you take 1 lakh population, that means 10,000 people require care. Can this one team of DMHP can they provide? And also, whether this double graduate, MD in psychiatry, DPM in psychiatry, MPhil clinical psychology, MPhil psychiatric social worker, will they go and work in village? As you get educated, you move away from the grassroots. That is the norm. But however, only few people work in the grassroots level. And we are not talking about one illness. We are talking about gamut of psychiatric illness. All psychiatric illness need to be treated at the PHC. Mental health problems need to be addressed. Mental health promotions has to be done. And one-time training for 5 days in a year, will they be get training of psychiatry? Training of psychosocial problems and promotion will be another challenge. Human resources is a big problem. And at the end of the day, the state has to provide commitment. Now, let's understand how National Mental Health Program has been compared with other programs. If you look at the unfair treatment given to the first non-communicable disorder program is very high because nobody appreciated that is the first National Mental Health Program is a non-communicable disorder program. Unfortunately, whenever National Mental Health Program was compared, it was compared with communicable disorder program. Let's see how unfair it was, how it was criticized, and even highly educated, highly academician, researcher forgot that National Mental Health Program should not be compared with any communicable disorder program. National Mental Health Program at this point of time received financial approval at all district level in India. Now the implementation at the state government. There are islands of excellence. Some states are doing amazingly well, like Karnataka, Gujarat, Tamil Nadu, Kerala. They are doing very well. There are some states, the district mental health program even not been started. Although they have got financial approval, the money is not spent at all. This is unfortunate in federal structure. Now let's look into the National Mental Health Program, why it has been criticized. Now I will be comparing National Mental Health Program with other National Communicable Disorder Program. Every time National Mental Health Program was compared, it was criticized very badly. But nobody appreciated it was the first non-communicable program in the country. NMHP is not one or two disorders. It is a complete basket of psychiatric illness. That means you're training a PHC doctor to provide psychiatric care at PHC. Whereas communicable disorder like tuberculosis, National Tuberculosis Program, National Malaria Eradication Program, these are all single disorder, single communicable disorder. Definition is very clear, treatment is very clear. Whereas in psychiatry, case identification is difficult. When it came in 1983, even ICD-10 was not there. DSM-4 was not there. So case identification itself is a difficult scenario in National Mental Health Program. And we are trying to train PhD doctors in psychiatry, not in one illness, all illness. Training again was done like a communicable disorder training, 3 to 6 days training per year in psychiatry for all psychiatric disorder. That is hit and run training is not going to help in National Mental Health Program. And psychiatry was taught very less in undergraduate. And starting the treatment and stopping the treatment in psychiatry is very, very woolly in nature. It is not sure, it cannot be recommended as a one rule thumb. Whereas in communicable disorders, starting and stopping treatment is crystal clear. And again, National Mental Health Program, the human resources, trained human resources is very poor. Because under UG, as I mentioned, psychiatry was never taught. Availability and continuous supply of medicines is very, very essential in psychiatry. The reason is the medication has to be given for years together. Whereas in communicable disorders, the treatment is very short duration. Comorbidity with psychiatry is very high. Comorbidity similarly in communicable disorder is very less. Course and prognosis for various psychiatric disorder is not clear, whereas course and prognosis is very crystal clear in communicable disorder. Need for prophylaxis is very high in National Mental Health Program. Stigma and discrimination is very high. Need for prophylaxis is very rare in communicable disorder program. Further, National Mental Health Program comes with promotion of mental health, prevention of mental illness, and prevention of suicide. Whereas in communicable disorder, promotion is very specific, prevention is very specific. Social determinants of mental health and mental illness is a universe. All determinants play a role. Whereas in communicable disorder programs, it is not so complex. In mental health, too many actors play a role. Whereas in communicable disorder, few factors. Consumers in National Mental Health Program is complete population. Whereas in communicable disorder program, it is only diseased population. To summarize National Mental Health Program, my dear friends, National Mental Health Program is a mammoth task. It has been struggling, but however, we need to appreciate it is the first non-communicable program trying to train psychiatry, psychosocial problems, and also stressors, and also mental health promotion for PHC doctors and other healthcare workers. Without thinking, many academician researchers have criticized and demoralized the National Mental Health Program and District Mental Health Program. We need to have a proper plan at this point of time. We need to have targets. We need to have indicators, outcome, baseline, accountability and handholding is very essential. Without handholding, none of the non-communicable disorder program is going to succeed. The success is continuous engaging every actors, handholding, removing stigma plays a very crucial role. Now, that was National Mental Health Program. Now let's understand at the horizontal level what has happened. Ayushman Bharat Health and Wellness Center, which was a masterstroke, because as I said earlier, we were able to reach National Mental Health Program to the district level. Unfortunately, below district level, people were deprived of mental health care. Ayushman Bharat, that is Health and Wellness Center, came as a boon. Let's understand about that. We had clearly National Mental Health Program at the vertical level till district hospitals. Now, at the lower base of the pyramid, self-care, Health and Wellness Center, and Primary Care Center came, and Ayushman Bharat played a very crucial role at the bottom of the pyramid. So, the Ayushman Bharat will be a masterstroke and it's going to do a paradigm shift. But every state need to implement both National Mental Health Program and Ayushman Bharat Health and Wellness Center. Needs to be formed and implemented seriously. Then we can take the care to the doorsteps. Now let's understand about Health and Wellness Center under Ayushman Bharat. The government has taken a massive step to strengthen the mental health care services at the primary healthcare level, that is at the PHC level, health and wellness center, and the self care level. So, this is a comprehensive primary health care under Ayushman Bharat Health and Wellness Center key scheme. Under that, the 11th module is mental, neurological, and substance use disorder module, that is MNS module. So, mental and substance use module was done by NIMHANS, Bangalore, whereas neurological module was done by AIMS, Delhi. I was part of this comprehensive primary health care under Ayushman Bharat for module 11. I was one of the member of this group. And now the operational guidelines on mental and neurological and substance use disorder has already been released. Already the first level of training as done by NIMHANS across all state level trainers for Ayushman Bharat. And I was one of the member who was involved in training. Now let's look into the challenges. The challenges have been numerous. Though we have a national mental health program, under that district mental health program, now we have Ayushman Bharat. The issue revolves around trained human resources. The next comes is funding, that is budget. And also the mental health policy needs to be implemented across various ministries. Stigma plays a very crucial role. Community awareness regarding mental illness, mental health problems, psychosocial issues is very less. All psychiatric illness, psychosocial problems, stressed population, and mental health promotion. If you want to take everything and try to deliver to the whole population, then National Mental Health Program and Ayushman Bharat will fall shortage of it. We need to have a plan. Now the policy is there, we have a program, we have a legislation. They need to be in sync and there should be a realistic plan. The plan should prioritize, target, time frame, budget, baseline indicators, outcome indicators, evaluation and effectiveness and flexibility need to be planned. And there should be availability of freedom to be given to the state under the federal structure. Innovative approach is the need of the hour. As we say, in COVID, the digital innovation came into play. Now NIMHANS Bangalore is doing digital innovation in providing care through telepsychiatry, that is basically telemedicine, training of doctors using telemedicine, and also to provide continuity of care, that means providing care at home, has been one of the important mandate of NIMHANS Bangalore. Coming to mental health is too important to be left only to mental health professionals. It is everyone's business, not just health department, not central government, not only state government, not just health ministry. It is everybody's business. Private, NGOs, corporate, societies, civil societies, and also you and me. Although the treatment gap is huge, 70 to 85% for mental illness, imagine for mental health problems. Now, the time to do for task shifting and task sharing is the only way to go to provide care. To conclude, my dear friends, mental health policy of India is very comprehensive and it is very vast. It provides or intend to provide care to everyone, to every citizen in India. It is a 360-degree democratic action plan of the people, by the people, for the people. That means you cannot leave mental health plan or policy just to mental health professionals. Everybody should get into implementing this. Every state government, every union territory, central government, private, civil societies, corporates, NGOs, individuals need to contribute to success of this plan. Otherwise, it will be a plan for only for mentally ill. To conclude, my dear friends, this mental health policy clearly says that we need to work together to implement this comprehensively. And my last word is, mental health is too dangerous to be left alone to mental health professionals. It has to be everybody's business. Every citizen has a role to play in implementation of mental health policy. Thank you very much for giving your valuable time. Stay safe.